If you're serious about writing, if you really want your writing to get as good as it possibly can, then you're going to need some readers. Even professional writers with huge audiences who are making tons of money still have readers. Even off-the-wall, unconventional, unique writers like Murakami still have readers. It's an essential part of the process of refining your craft. There's no two ways about it. And yet receiving notes can be really hard. It can be frightening, it can be annoying, it can be frustrating, it can be hurtful. It can be hurtful. In this video, we're going to hear from Murakami about how he deals with receiving notes. But first, I just want to say, hi, my name's Josh. I'm a professional screenplay consultant. I read screenplays all day long and give notes on them. And so this is sort of my bread and butter. I've met writers who have this attitude of just tell me what to do. Tell me what's wrong, tell me how to fix it. And I've also met writers who have this attitude of, well, you're wrong. What do you know? My contention in this video is that both extremes are the wrong attitude to take. First thing we should make clear is that the reader's job is not to tell you what to do. Nor is their job just to gas you up and say, yeah, it's perfect. The reader is a kind of collaborator. You only go to them when you want an outside perspective, when you've sort of exhausted your own resources, and you need to hear from an audience how it's landing. Your reader is also ideally someone who has some understanding of storytelling in general, and your genre in particular, and someone who can actually give you constructive ideas on how to improve the next draft rather than simply telling you what doesn't work. But they're not the writer. You are. They can't tell you if something is interesting. They can't tell you if something is worth writing or not. They can't tell you how to write it. It's up to you to decide these things. So before you send your writing to your readers, here's a couple questions you should ask yourself first. Number one, is this work as good as I possibly can make it? This isn't just a matter of refining the language, getting a thesaurus and putting some more interesting words in there and fixing spelling and grammar mistakes. It has to be way more than that. You actually have to give yourself notes. You have to learn how to talk to yourself, how to see your work as a stranger might. In a sense, you have to become somewhat schizophrenic. There's a reason why in the world of TV in particular, there are often writers' rooms that have many writers collaborating together in conversation. It's not only because they can cover more grounds, they can divide and conquer the work and split up and go get many scripts done at once. It goes deeper than that. Because in a writer's room, people are bouncing ideas off of each other. They're challenging each other. They're compensating for each other's weaknesses and blind spots. And therefore, they can produce something that is more interesting, more whole, than what one lone writer can produce alone, in a limited time at least. But a novelist, for example, or a screenwriter who's just writing a screenplay on their own, they don't have a limited time. So if that's you, make time your ally. The fact that you do not have a deadline, the clock is not ticking, is your greatest boon. Make full use of it. Go slowly. Think deeply. Get different parts of your mind speaking to each other. You have to get a writer's room inside of your own mind so you can challenge yourself, you can build upon yourself, you can compensate for your own weaknesses and blind spots. But sometimes this means more than just giving yourself notes. It means taking notes from the world around you. So to make this more personal, I actually already recorded this video. Weeks ago, in fact, I recorded for over an hour. And to be honest, I was kind of on fire. I had way more energy than I have right now. I was making jokes left and right. I fell out of my chair. And I just came up with some great bits that I'll never be able to recreate, and I won't try to. And guess what? The file was corrupted. I can't tell you why. I haven't been able to figure out why, but the file was corrupted. I wasn't able to edit it. And I was really disappointed. I could have gone ahead and re-recorded it instantly that same day, but I instead decided to see this glitch as a note from the universe. And guess what? I got a new webcam. It shoots in glorious 1080p. And I sat down and actually wrote a script this time. Here, look. This is the script. None of this is improvised. I'm reading it word for word off the page. I realized that the video I recorded before was good, but chaotic. I was throwing ideas out left and right and circling back to things I'd said earlier, and it would have been a nightmare to edit it. And so this glitch was my muses saying, hey, it can be better. And I listened. Well, I didn't really have a choice in this case, because the file was deleted. I couldn't do anything with it. But sometimes you do have a choice. Usually the muses whisper. Having the file glitch like that is a bit of a yell, but usually it's a whisper. You have to work hard to listen to it. We have to overcome our own laziness, our own fear to make changes, our own reluctance to go back and redo something that we've already done. We have to overcome all that if we want it to be as good as it can possibly be. So that's number one. The second thing you need to do before you send out your writing to readers is to open your mind but protect your heart. What do I mean by that? Writers are artists, and artists are sensitive. You can ask my fiance. I am very sensitive. I don't take criticism well. Sorry, Georgia. But what I've learned about myself is that I need to listen to what's being said, keep my mouth shut, walk away, and let it integrate. I need to let it sink in. I need to reflect on it a little bit. And then I can come back to it and continue the conversation. Partially, this is astrologically determined. My moon is in Scorpio. I'm a sensitive and vindictive little bitch. It's just who I am. But also part of this is because I'm an artist. And if you're watching this video, you're an artist too, which means you're probably also very sensitive. You have to get deeply emotionally involved in anything you're writing in order to get anywhere, in order to get the motivation to write it in the first place. There is no other way, especially with a long project like a novel or a feature film, there is no other way to get to the end if you are not emotionally involved in it. So that's why receiving feedback can be so hard. But if you want to be the best you can possibly be, and you should, then you have to open your mind to the feedback, to the possibility that what this person is telling you is true. Even if at the same time, you're learning how to shield your emotions from the pain. In other words, don't take the notes too personally. It's your work being critiqued, not your personality. Still easier said than done. Trust me, I know. I've been there. I've gotten notes from professional readers, and they've sat in my inbox for 2 days before I build up the courage to open them because I'm just so afraid what might be in there. And sometimes, yeah, it's really hard to read. It can be very harsh. Professional readers can be very harsh. I've also got feedback that was just so off the mark, like so far from what I was going for, as if they didn't even read it, or maybe they did read it, but they didn't understand it, or they weren't giving it the attention it needed. But the truth is, most of the time, I've gotten notes, whether it's from fellow writers or from professionals that I don't know, the notes are fair. They praise some things that I do well, and they critique others that can be done better. And it's really that simple. There's no reason to be afraid. But you still need to open your mind. And here's exactly what I mean by opening your mind. Of the 3 types of notes, the abstract, just way off the mark, what are you talking about? Did you even read it? The mean-spirited, brutally frank, just tearing it apart. And the fair, balanced, some things are good, some things need work. All 3 of them are useful. I know it sounds like a contradiction, but this is true. Even useless notes are useful. Now, if you're paying a professional for notes, you should absolutely get fair notes. However, if a glitch on my goddamn computer can give me notes and inspire me to do better, then someone who read your script, even if they didn't read it well, someone who read your script can definitely give you useful notes. After all, if someone gives you the world's greatest notes and they tell you exactly what you can do to improve it, you still don't even have to do that. You can still just do it your own way. You can break whatever rules you want because you are the writer, remember. And if you come across an agent or a manager or someone who wants to help you in your career, if you change it to be more in line with their vision, then I actually recommend that you tell those people to go That's not their job. That's your job. It says your name after written by, not your agents, not your managers.
Not me, not Hermione, you. Who?
It's your vision. It's your story. It's your politics. It's your lack of politics. It's your choice what verb tense to use that matters. Don't let a manager, an agent, a reader, and definitely don't let some fucking guy on YouTube tell you what to do. Now, Murakami says something very similar in his book, Novelist as Vocation, which, if you don't know this book, it's okay. It is not a must-read for writers. It's a must-read if you're a Murakami fan. There are definitely better books out there on the craft of writing, I won't lie to you. But there are some really fun quotes in here. Like, for example, this one from the opening page. There are exceptions, of course, but from what I have seen, most novelists aren't what one would call amiable and fair-minded. Neither are they what would normally be considered good role models. Their dispositions tend to be idiosyncratic, and their lifestyles and general behavior frankly odd. Almost all, I guess 92%, including yours truly, live under the unspoken assumption that my way is right, while virtually all other writers are wrong. I think that's probably true, and I think we should embrace that. I don't think you should fight against that. If you're a writer, you should have your own way to do it, your own vision. That still doesn't mean you don't need readers. Notes from readers, or YouTube videos like this one, should only help you discover what your way is and to commit harder and harder to it. Now, I'd like to read you a longer quote from the middle of Murakami's book where he discusses his relationship with his readers. He says, "No matter what you have written, it can be made better. We may feel that what we have turned out is excellent, even perfect, but the fact remains there is always room for improvement. That's why I strive to set aside my pride and self-regard when rewriting, and cool the passions generated by the creative process. I have to be careful not to cool them too much, though, since that would make rewriting impossible. I also have to prepare myself to handle the comments that come from my outside readers. Though their criticism may hurt, I still must somehow find the patience to listen to what they are saying. By contrast, I don't take criticisms that come out after a novel is published all that seriously. If I worried too much about that stuff, I couldn't go on. When the writing process is still underway, however, I have to be able to incorporate criticisms and suggestions in as humble and open-minded a way as possible. This is and has always been my firm belief. During my many years as a novelist, there have been editors with whom I have not seen eye to eye. They were not bad people, and I'm sure they worked well with other writers, but when it came to editing my books, the chemistry just wasn't there. Their opinions often left me shaking my head, and there were times, to be honest, when they really got on my nerves. I could even get angry. Nevertheless, I had to make it work somehow. It was our job, after all. On one occasion, when we were at the manuscript stage of a novel, I did a rewrite of all the sections the editor had queried. In most cases, however, I rewrote them in a way that was the opposite of what he had suggested. When he instructed, make this section longer, for example, I made it shorter, and expanded the sections he wanted me to cut down. Pretty outrageous behavior, I know, but the rewrite that resulted turned out to be a big improvement. Thanks to our exchange, the novel was far better than it would have been otherwise. Paradoxically, he turned out to be a very useful editor for me, far more helpful, at least, than those editors who told me only what I wanted to hear, to my way of thinking at least. Now, here I want to interrupt Murakami for a second to introduce my own concept of the note beneath the note. What do I mean by that? So sometimes we may read a text and know right away that something isn't working. We might feel it instantly, but putting into words exactly what is bothering us about that section is very hard. Professional critics and professional readers are better at it than anyone else. They have training. They understand story at a deep level. They've read tons of scripts and given notes on tons of scripts. So they may have some sort of shorthand and might have seen this before and they go, yeah, I know what this is. However, they're still limited by their own biases. They're also limited by the English language, which can only say so much after all. But they're also limited by time. And unless you're paying your reader piles and piles of money to read and reread again and sleep on it and think about it and journal and really try to figure out exactly what's going on in your story, then you can't expect them to absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's why I suggest that you need to translate everything you get from a reader. You need to translate what they say into your own language. They may say this section is really slow and there's not enough conflict in it, but what they really mean is we lose touch with your protagonist here. We don't feel for them. We're not sure what they're going through. That's why professional writers, when they receive notes from studio or from their editors or whoever, they often say, yeah, I'll look at it. I'll look at it.
Look at that, look at that.
Yeah. Why do they say that? Because they know that the note they're receiving is pointing at a section that isn't working. But what they say is the problem may not actually be the problem. After all, a problem in one scene may not actually reside within the scene. The problem may reside a few scenes earlier that fails to set up that scene properly. This is what Walter Murch calls a pinched nerve. And it's really hard for a reader, after just reading a script one time, to really pick up on these resonances between every scene. Murakami goes on. What's crucial, in short, is the physical act of rewriting. What carries more weight than anything else is the resolve to sit down at one's desk to improve what one has written. Compare to that the question of which direction to take in those improvements may be of secondary importance. A writer's instinct and intuition derive less from logic and more from the level of determination brought to the task. It's like beating the bushes to flush out the birds. What difference does it make what kind of stick you use or how you swing it? Neither matters as long as the birds take to the air. It is that flurry of movement that jolts our field of vision, allowing us to see things in a new light. That is my opinion anyway, crude though it may be. At any rate, I spend as much time as I can on the rewriting process. And by the way, the word is that Murakami spends thousands, maybe 5,000 hours rewriting a novel. That's after he has a first draft. Get on his level. I listen to the advice of the people around me, even if it makes me angry, and try to bear it in mind as I rework my novel. Their comments are valuable. Anyone who has just finished writing a long novel is bound to be in an emotional, overstimulated state. In a way, we are out of our minds. This makes sense since anyone in their right mind would never undertake to write a novel in the first place. Given the circumstances, therefore, it is perfectly acceptable to be deranged, as long as you are aware of that fact. For like it is with all crazy people, the opinions of the sane are really important to you. That does not mean, of course, that you must swallow whole whatever others tell you. Some of their opinions are bound to miss the mark or be entirely wrong. Nevertheless, since they are uttered by those of sound mind, they carry a certain meaning for you, whatever they are. They will cool you down to a more proper temperature. Such opinions are nothing less than those of the world at large. In short, those who will read your book. If you ignore them, you can bet that they will probably ignore you. Some of you may say, that's perfectly all right with me. I have no problem with that. If, however, you are a writer who wants to maintain contact with the outside world, and I think most writers do, then it is important to ensure that you have one or two people near you who will read your work, fixed points that you can use to orient yourself to your surroundings. Naturally, those fixed points should be able and willing to communicate with you in a frank and honest manner, even if you flip out every time you hear criticism. Murakami introduces a huge concept here, the concept of the fixed point. So the question for you now is, who is your fixed point? Not a rhetorical question. Comment below, I want to hear. For Murakami, I believe that his wife is actually one of his main fixed points. I think that she pretty much reads everything he writes first and gives him her own thoughts on it. I once heard a great story of Terrence Malick, the amazing filmmaker, when he was making the film The New World, presented a cut to the studio. They watched it and they were furious. They hated it. They came at him with notes and piles of notes. And they said, you need to change this and you need to change that, and it's too slow and we need more of this character and blah, blah, blah. And he sat there and silently accepted it and listened to it all. And then when it came time for him to speak, he said, yeah, well, my mom liked it, so I think we should keep it the way it is. Now that's a fixed point. Find your fixed points. But one thing to keep in mind here is that it's never going to be everyone's cup of tea. There is no work out there that is everyone's cup of tea. It doesn't exist. I have a short story on this topic. So I used to be a TA in film classes. We used to do world cinema classes, and one week we showed the film Bicycle Thieves. Now, if you don't know, Bicycle Thieves It's one of the greatest films ever made. It makes me cry every single time I watch it. But most of the students in this class were straight out of high school. Most of them had never seen black and white films or films with subtitles, and this was both black and white with subtitles. But as an experiment, I asked the class of about 30 people. I just said, raise your hand if you love the movie. No one raised their hands. I said, raise your hand if you like the movie. 2 people raised their hands. 2 out of 30 liked one of the greatest films ever made. So you can't expect everyone to fall in love with your writing, especially if you know it still needs work. This is why it's extra important to have these fixed points, so that these people know you. They know your potential. They believe in you. They know what you're going for, what your vision is, what your frame of reference is. On the other hand, with professional readers, they don't know you. Often they don't even know your name. However, that's sort of the point. Professional readers are a great idea. They should, in theory, have really deep understanding of story, structure, character arcs, everything, while also having deep understanding of your particular genre, while also having deep understanding of whatever industry you're trying to break into, whether that's publishing or the film TV world, so they can give you holistic advice on how to go forward with your project. They will also give you something close to an objective read, although there is really no such thing as an objective read, but your fixed points are inevitably going to be friends and family, people who know you, people who don't want to hurt your feelings, people who want to gas you up. Whereas a professional reader, it's their job to be totally honest with you. And if you're looking for a professional reader, whether it's for screenplays or for novels, short stories, I have one to recommend you. Me. I've been reading professionally for about 4 years now. I have read almost 2,000 screenplays at this point, and hundreds of short films and short stories. And I don't want to toot my horn too much, but I am the best to ever do it. I'm number 1. And my rates are extremely fair. So please check out my website in the description and hit me up. And please forgive the self-promotion. In conclusion, do not go to a professional reader if you have not yet asked your muses for notes. And don't go to the reader if you haven't first asked your fixed points to read it. And don't go to a professional reader if you're just looking for a heat check, if you're just hoping that someone's going to tell you, oh my god, it's so good, yeah, post it, it's perfect, I love you. Because remember guys, if you're paying someone money for notes, they're going to give you notes. If I got the screenplay to The Godfather across my desk and I was being paid to give notes on it, I would find things to criticize. I would find somewhere that it could get better. That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening, guys. It is always a blast to interact with you guys in the comments. You're so nice. You're so fun. Even when you guys give me notes and you challenge me, that's super fun. I love it. I love all the hate mail. Bring it on. Peace.